You're listening to Lighthouse Conversations, brought to you by Lighthouse Haven, a spiritual home for your awakening soul. Lighthouse Conversations is a show where awakening souls gather to be inspired, connected, and enlightened. Spiritual spark plug and host Chelly Canales, that's me, will guide you through the twists and turns of your journey to a safe haven where you are finally free to live your best light. Each episode contains a conversation with a guest who has gone through a spiritual awakening, detailing their unique and life-changing experiences in an intimate and candid way. Although everyone's experience is as unique as they are, we all share one common thread. We're all seeking something. So, come join us on this journey and be prepared to leave with resources that will supercharge you into inspired action. Here's today's episode. Hello, awakening souls. So here comes season 2 of Lighthouse Conversations. I'm so thrilled that you came back. Gosh, what a season it was. I feel like I learned a decade's worth of things in the less than a year that season 1 came to be. It's truly been an experience hearing people's stories from so many different walks of life. But seeing how all of the threads tie together, there are so many things in common. And it just helps us to remember that we are one, that our humanity is something that we share, and that we're not so different as we think. So let me tell you a little bit about what's going on in life and company right now. My company specifically, I decided that my word for 2020 was going to be union. The union of the parts of me that are like, hey, I love to live up in the clouds. Why do I have to be on earth every day and actually put these ideas to work? You know, I get really frustrated by that, which is silly. I need to make sure to bring the action to the creation and the vision that's coming. So I've decided that those two major pieces of myself need to work hand in hand with each other in order to put things out into the world that I'm passionate about. So I'm working on that, but it also made me realize how, even though I'm so much more myself than ever before, creating this whole other life and career for myself, there are two major parts of myself that were not necessarily playing together in terms of my company. I've always worked them together in terms of my life. So that's spirituality, and that's being on stage as a performing artist and as a speaker. And I realize how many of the spiritual tools I use in order to bring the performance that I'm hoping to give to the stage. And there are many exercises, and there's some digging, some soul work that goes into it as well. So I'm really thrilled to announce my program, Stage Present. It will be coaching, consulting, and courses, which will be available in person and online. And I cannot wait to work in this field because artists and speakers who inspire, these are the people who I think are changing the world in the way that they share their stories and the stories of the pieces that they're working on. So can't wait to tell you more about that. It is now my pleasure to introduce you to the first guest of season 2, Robin Rorex. Now, she is the founder of Grace Sisterhood Circles and chief storyteller for Dirty Bird Diaries. She is, wow, she's a really powerful leader and healer, and she's actually looking to shift the paradigm of leadership itself. She's had 20 years working for Nike. She's had this incredible career, but she knew that there was something calling her to do something different and really answer her soul's calling. She calls it turning in towards her own heart. So she holds these beautiful sisterhood circles in places like Joshua Tree and Sedona, and she creates an atmosphere for what she refers to as a cauldron of courage. We need more people stepping into their courage, and so I'm so grateful to Robin for showing up in the world this way. And I love that she also touches on what my theme for 2020 is, just based on where she is in life. She talks about, I guess it's the bridge between what spirit's wisdom has in store for you and the reality of being human. So if we can all work together with the various parts of ourselves, I feel like there's nothing that can stop us from changing the world. The world is shifting, culture is shifting, and you're a part of that. So thank you for being here and enjoy the episode. Robin Rorex, welcome to the show. I'm so happy to have you here.
My gosh, I've been waiting for this moment for us to have a chance to connect.
Me too, and it's always in the perfect timing. And I'm so delighted to introduce you as one of the many incredible sisters met at Rebecca Campbell's Rise Sister Right retreat of over a year ago now. It was the most beautiful incubation period, I think, for so many of us. It was like this little womb we were all in together, just so safe and so protected. And we all came out of that
Mm,
experience with such an understanding of our purpose. Granted, we may not have all the answers, but we had more answers. I think that's what I've noticed with my own journey as well as talking to others. I want to talk to you about that, but I want to talk to you in general about your awakening process. I mean, you've worked at Nike for so many years and you've come out and now you host these Healing Women's Circle. Walk me through what that process is.
yeah. So one of the things that I want to say about the word awakening, just for me personally, is that it hasn't been a process as much as it's been an opening to my heart. It's like the trajectory has taken me over this path of awakening to the person that I came here to be. Like as a human in this lifetime, what is the imprint that I'm meant to make through the essence of just my raw, true human spiritual self. And so that awakening has been really a walk towards my own heart. That's what it's been.
A walk towards my own heart. Oh, yes. I think that's probably the most beautiful way I've heard that put. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, yeah. And what else I'll say about that is that um, it's like for me, it wasn't this big moment where I just woke up one day and I felt like the seas had parted and I was calm and comfortable in my skin and everything was working for me. But it wasn't that way at all. But what it has been is little micro awakenings where I'm continually waking up to my own humanity and to my own self, and that process is what gives me hope every day to wake up and to realize that I'm still becoming.
And we don't ever stop, do we?
Yeah, no, we never do. Not until we're done, and we're never done.
And we're never done. Have you always been a spiritual person?
I have always been uh, a believer in something bigger than myself. And what I think has happened is that over the last couple years, I've been able to put language towards that. So what I would say is yes, I just didn't know how to speak about it, or I didn't know what to call it, and and I didn't know how to stop and be still long enough in the busyness of my own life, the race of my own life, to learn how to access it. So that's what shifted for me.
That's the key. And, um, that thing you mentioned about not knowing what to call it, what are the words for
Yeah.
this? It was what prompted me to write my book, The ABCs of Awakening, a dictionary for
Mm,
the emerging
yeah.
soul. So the whole idea was, you're going through something, you're not the same, but what are these feelings or where do I turn to? And so
Mm,
it's like kind of bringing it down to earth and using like terms everybody can understand and examples like the Marvel Cinematic Universe or the movie Love Actually, to kind of bring these points
totally.
home because it really does change your perspective on things when you know what to call it. I didn't know I was an
Absolutely.
empath until I knew what the word empath was. And suddenly I'm like, okay, now I know what's been happening to me all of these years.
Yeah,
Um,
it's so true. There's a resonance that I've been having lately of really dropping into this inner knowing or this innate knowing of how to be a bridge between spirit's wisdom and the reality of being human. And what I keep learning over and over again is that before I was more of a blocker. I was compartmentalizing those aspects of my life. I was
yes.
going to a mountain and praying or meditating, and then I would leave that experience of my connection to spirit in that location because it was an event, and then I'd go back to my human life and I would become just consumed by the normality of what it is to be human. have difficult emotions and painful moments and setbacks. And I didn't know how to connect the two so that I could be in my power rather than being swept away by my life.
It's beautiful. Thank you for saying that, because that's been a big theme for me right now, is that
Mm.
connection. And my word I decided for 2020 is union. It's the union with
Yeah,
my divine and my earthly self, because sometimes, I don't know about you, I just want to escape and be like, why do I have to deal with this earth
yeah.
stuff? I don't want to. Get me out.
I
And I
hear you,
really
sister.
believe,
I hear
yeah.
you. I
And
hear
I know
you.
that we chose to be here. We're here so we can have this
Yeah.
experience with its ups and downs and turmoils and all of that. What is your favorite way
Mm.
to remind yourself every day to meet those 2 points?
That's a great question, Shelley. It's here's what's coming up to me is that like every day I'm giving myself permission um, to allow the pain, the discomfort that I feel as a human, the space for it to breathe and for myself to heal. And so it's a remembering, it's a practice, it's a process for me to learn how to turn towards myself, right? Turn towards my pain, learn how to be with my humanity, be with my discomfort, normalize it, because everybody, all of us have experiences of painful, difficult moments, of shame or sadness or deep despair or blame, right? All kinds of moments as a human being that I'm not proud of, that, and it's completely normal. And rather than keeping that part of myself in the dark and hidden where it has power over me, I've learned this process of turning towards myself and bringing light into places where I've kept dark. And that's
Mhm.
really the access point that's given me the freedom to rise, right? To rise beyond, rise into who I'm becoming.
So as you turn towards it, is it
Yeah.
taking away judgment? Is it
Yeah.
being gentle with yourself? Is it saying, be as mad as you want right now and get it out of your system and move on? What does it look like it very specifically for you, like for one example?
Yeah. It's um it's giving myself uh, a place to be with my own feminine power. So I have spent, you're right, you mentioned it before, I've spent 20 years inside the corporate world, inside Nike and other places inside of the patriarch, right? The
Hmm.
system that is a very masculine, energetic field. And I've learned how to push through, how to fight, how to force myself into making things happen. Um, but I've never given myself, actually, I didn't even know that it was possible to touch into the feminine parts of me, which is really the way that I flow with the universe, that I move with the day, that I soften, that I give myself permission to listen, that I give myself permission to be gentle, right? Like you said, compassionate, for empathetic with myself, those pain parts of myself, those, that the darkness that is, and I keep saying it, right? It's completely normal aspect of being human. And rather than stepping over it, I want to be with it, because that energy, it's just energy is all it is inside of me, that I have not, that I'm learning how to transform into power that activates a future for me that's really different. And
Yeah.
that's what's inspiring and hopeful. And man, I love it because I don't have to shut it down. I can actually open it up. And like I get to step into my wholeness.
Yes, 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 yes. And I think society in general, as a whole, is starting to recognize these things slowly but surely. Of course, you have the early adopters, and we're getting activated and all of that. And by you spreading your message and holding the circles as you do, those lights get activated as well. You are such an advocate for holding space for women to be in that feminine and to hold space for them to tell their truth, which is something you and I share in common. That people telling their truth is the ultimate gift, the ultimate medicine. We can't hide it. By sharing it, by putting it out into the light, as you said, this is how we can heal it, and this is how we can empower others to own their truth as well. Talk to me about your journey into being this space holder for this type of work.
Oh, it's been a crazy, wild ride. I have, I guess at the underneath it all has I've uncovered this part of me that I didn't know which was there, which is this trusting that I never walk alone,
Yes.
and that I'm always held by something bigger, mysterious power, a higher source that is oftentimes unseen but always felt, right? At least from the way that I access the message of spirit. And so that trust has strengthened me to let go of all the structures and the processes and the systems that I had held on to so long, that I thought I needed because I was afraid that I wouldn't be able to survive in the world. And so the untethering of what was actually holding me down and keeping me small has given me a really cool way to just experiment with stepping into what it is that I'm here to do in this lifetime with human beings, and the gift that I have, the medicine that I have to offer. So in that process, I've discovered that what I really, really, really love is bringing women together and celebrating each other, and learning how to support and fall in love with one another and ourselves again, to let our soul remember the ancient practices of our ancestors that we have forgotten for so many years.
And has left us feeling so disconnected from each other and competitive with each other because we're
That's
taught to believe there's only one seat at the table and you've got to,
that's right.
tear each other down in order to make that happen. And the only reason we're told that is because they know when we are together, we are that much stronger.
You got it, girl. Not only, yeah, and it's just not modeled for us.
No, it isn't.
It's not modeled for us. So we've got to learn to, if here's what we actually, if we want to heal the world, the planet, Mother Earth, the communities that we live in, whether they're churches or our neighborhoods or the places where we work or our families, right? We've got to start by healing ourselves. And when we heal ourselves, then we can heal others and we can heal the world. But
That's
we
right.
can't do that unless we model what that looks like with each other and normalize it. And so the more that we heal ourselves individually, we can all rise into our power, reclaim our power. And now all of a sudden, not only can we see examples of what real source power looks like from a feminine standpoint or inside women, but we can also create a legacy for those that are come behind us.
Yes, and
In
I
in
think
the in the future, I'm sorry, yeah.
yeah, no, I hear you because the work that's being done now is planting the seeds, and I'm really excited for the next generation because they're going to come into society with certain things already known to them, things that they already knew as babies. We all knew as children when we came to this world, but it was conditioned out of us. I think that they're going to have less of that going on, and it's just going to feel very natural to stay in that natural state.
Yeah, totally. I guess that maybe that's the path of most of us is that really it's a process of unlearning. So you asked the
Mhm.
question early, what's the process I've been going through? I think it's unlearning everything that I have the ways that I've armored up or veneered or protected,
Yeah.
put layers across my own heart from being real and authentic.
So, are you still with Nike, or is that something you left behind in order to have your
Yeah.
company for leadership and empowerment?
Yeah, it is something that I left behind. I was there for 20 years. And I guess, I mean, to be really just flat out honest about it, it is the longest relationship I've ever been in,
Uh-huh.
besides with my parents.
Yeah.
And what I learned is that inside of that old dynamic of a relationship, of who I had sort of grown into being inside of that structure, I couldn't I realized that I couldn't become who I'm meant to be unless I stepped away from it and cut some of those cords of not having to what it became for me is that I was identified with who I worked for and I forgot who I was.
Oh, yes. Yes, yes, yes. And I can see that in relationships as well. Like, who are you without the other
And
person?
totally.
So as these discoveries were coming to you, did you find that you were implementing them in the workplace, and was there a reaction to it? Did anyone notice? Was it welcomed
Mm.
or feared?
I always felt like I didn't fit in.
Mm, I know the feeling.
Yeah, I just felt like like I was over efforting. I was trying to please. I was hustling to be liked. I was doing everything that felt shitty, to be honest with you,
Mhm.
and inauthentic, to try to fit into just a box that and I'm going to own this myself, right? This is not about the external world. This is about a box that I had put myself in,
Right.
trying to fit into a world that I had imagined I needed to be, right? And so
Mhm.
it just the it just I just started to get to suffocate is really what happened.
I joked around in my TEDx talk that I was there a jelly-shaped peg, and there was no hole for me to fit
Totally.
into. And so, I mean, that's why I left a traditional workplace, was because I had to do it on my own. And I'm still navigating what it means to be my own boss, to have a successful
Yeah.
business. Um, was it scary when you did it? What were your major roadblocks when making this
Mm.
transition happen?
Yeah, it was quite a while ago now, but it was scary as hell. Yeah, because hey, I grew up as an athlete. I love the brand. I love sport. Everything about the reason about why I started working there was came from a passion of mine that
Yeah.
I still am very connected to, and I still love the brand, and I still have many friends and love the people there. But in many ways, I just outgrew it, right? So, and I wasn't giving myself the space to grow inside of that structure. And so when I left, I was letting go, like many of us are probably can relate to, of absolutely everything that I knew, of everything that was known, relationships, running a business, being successful, security financially. So when I took that leap, yeah, it took me a good 2, 3 years to completely
Wow.
unravel from the identity that I had shaped myself into. And I struggled in that space of releasing and letting go, and it wasn't easy.
But look at where you are now. I mean, it's so worth it. And I'm just hearing this as encouragement for myself, because I want to
Yeah,
turn around and run every single day,
yeah,
but I
totally.
can't. There's something in my heart and in my mind, and my spirit says this is what you're being called to do. You chose this, right? So let's stop with the I don't know about it. This is hard. Well, everything is hard. I like to talk a lot about the slingshot analogy. So, like,
Yeah,
if you're in a place that you don't like and you're unhappy, that's hard. Then you can be over here and say, you know what, I'm going to pull back, and it's going to be a lot of tension. It's going to feel really uncomfortable, and I'm not going to like it. But pow, look at me. Now I'm across the room somewhere I never could have gotten if I hadn't put myself in that space of discomfort. We are so scared of discomfort
yeah,
as a
totally.
society that it's so easy to say, you know what, I'm just going to jump back in. And I've been doing, side gigs here and there that have put me back in that schedule of being in the old way of being, and I just am rebelling against it so hard. It just reminds me that I have to work that much harder to truly go after this and make this happen.
It's funny when I realize that I am coming from a place of fear or scarcity. That voice of self doubt is really driving all my decisions in the moment. So I'm triggered or reactive, whatever you want to
Mm-hmm.
call it.
Mm-hmm.
I find myself scouring through job openings
Yeah.
of, of where I could go back to, right? Because
Oh, yeah.
there's still a part of me. It's a younger self. It's the younger version of Robin
Hmm.
who wants to feel safe, right?
Yeah.
And to feel secure and some sense of security, and rising towards my soul's calling, from my experience, has been the most liberating thing and freeing thing I've ever done. And it's also, you know, when we're flying with new wings, it can be really scary, and so I have to keep reminding myself that what I'm capable of.
That's a beautiful thing. Every day you wake up and say to yourself that you are capable. Remind
Yeah.
yourself why. Yes, I go on those job postings too. I'm like, there's nothing for spiritual spark plug. That's weird. I don't see that anywhere. I give up. So I
That's
just made it my own title, and we're
That's
just going with
awesome. Yes,
that.
well, that's the way we do it, right? That's the way we
You
do it when we step
forge the new
into.
path. Yeah.
Absolutely. And what I'm finding is that although you might call it a spiritual spark plug and I call it something else, but at the end of the day, we're sort of all trying to do the same thing, which
Yes.
is coming to this place. Again, I really believe it's about awakening the landscape of our heart
Yes,
as
it is.
as a humanity, right?
Tell me about a magical experience at one of your retreats. I know you do Sedona, you were at Joshua Tree. Like, these are places that sound so sacred and beautiful and healing.
Mm. Yeah, what do I have so many. Let me think about this.
Yeah.
So we just finished a sisterhood circle in Sedona a couple weeks ago, actually, with 10 amazing women. And you know what? The reason that we go to either Joshua Tree or Sedona is because really the best teachers for us is, I believe, is the land.
Yeah.
And and if we can learn to connect with her in a very sacred way, then not only does she heals us, but we learn how to give back to her in a way that's respectful and sustainable for lives into the future. So the land is our teacher, and the real the real work to I guess ignite the transformation that happens, or the awakening, to use your word, is the group of women who comes together. So it is absolutely my intention to always have a group of women who are as diverse as possible. And we had an amazing group of women this time that spanned age. So there was all the way we had age diversification, we had obviously professional diversification, but most importantly, we had really beautiful mixture of women of color, brown and black skinned women, and white skinned women. And to me, that is the biggest gift that I will ever receive, is being in the presence of diverse voices and giving space for everybody to be heard and seen. For me, one of the things that I've really been coming into contact with is really learning about the power that I hold with my whiteness,
Mm-hmm.
and how to use it in a way that can contribute and support everybody rising, especially women of color. So inside of that circle, when different voices are sharing their stories, it's just such a beautiful awakening, especially when we're all experiencing our own fears, our own tenderness of our own hearts, our own perspectives. Right, when that those ideas and those stories are shared into the world and almost placed in this cauldron. It becomes this cauldron of courage that we can all tap into. And that, I would have to say, is always the most magical moment in the circles that we hold.
That's incredible. And I love the way you put it too, cauldron of courage. That imagery that it entices is wonderful. And it just seems like people being free and being free together.
Totally. Yeah, and we do a lot of laughing and, belly laughing and crying and some dancing. And, you got to get it all in there because we're also meant to have fun and be lighthearted in this lifetime as well.
Absolutely. How do people find out more about your work?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you for asking, by the way.
You bet.
So a couple places. You can go to my website, which is i-am-grace.com, iamgrace.com. You can email, and on my website, you'll find information about the circles that I lead, and also at the bottom of the website, on the cover, on the landing page, there's a place to sign up for it's Dirty Bird Diaries. So it's stories that I've started to tell that are raw, heartfelt, and they're designed to just reveal the underbelly of our shared humanity. So my intention is to share my stories that I've kept in the dark, to put them into the light, and hopefully inspire other women to share their humanity as well. So iamgrace.com. You can email me. My email is robin@i-am-grace.com. And I'm on Instagram as myself, Robin Rorex. It's Rorex.
Rorex. Before we go, real quick, just if you have any, I don't know, resources, or like, what's a great starting place, like a book or a documentary or something, if people are really looking to turn into their own heart, where would you recommend they start?
Yeah, so my catalyst for learning or awakening in this space has always been Pema Chodron.
Yes.
And I just love the way that she teaches how to work with our own pain, how to work with our own suffering, but mostly how to fall in love and accept our humanity. And
yes, you're reminding me I need to dive back into her work. It's been a little while. I need it right now.
yeah, it's beautiful. And the one that I always start with is the places that scare me.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that. I think that is going to be a huge gift for people listening who are inspired by what you do and want to get on the journey to start learning more. I'm so appreciative of your time. Thank you for sharing your gift with us today, Robin.
Thank you, Shelley. Thank you for doing what you do. This platform is incredibly powerful. I mean, you're activating a connection to source energy that is way bigger than what we can do on our own by ourselves, and the faith to realize that there's something more, like that we're connected to something bigger than who we are as individual, and when we can tap into our shared humanity or shared connection, we can do anything. So thank you.
Thank you. That's a beautiful thing to say. And it's my honor to hold space for stories such as yourself, because this is what connects us. And it does bring that perspective of the greater oneness that we are together. I'm just so thankful. It's an honor to share this time with you.
Yeah, thank you, hon.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Lighthouse Conversations. If this show resonates with you, it would mean so much to have you rate, review, and share. Don't forget to follow us at chellycanales.com and on social media.